Thank you for joining me today. My name is Sarah Vanderheiden, and I am the Assistant Makery Manager at Elmhurst Public Library. But I also help with the Genealogy Club at the library. I do have a bachelor's degree in history, so I have worked on some genealogy research at local history museums in my past, and I am going to use some of that expertise to talk about one of our genealogy databases, Fold3. So if you want to access any of our genealogy databases, you first need to go to our website, elmhurstpubliclibrary.org. It's very important that you start at our website so that way you can authenticate yourself as an Elmhurst patron to have access to these databases for free instead of paying for them. To get to our databases, you're going to go to the e-library section of our page, and this has a list of all of our electronic resources, including ebooks, magazines, and our databases. If you wanted to, you could go to all databases by title, and you will get a list of dozens of databases that we pay for that you have access to for free with your library card. But since we're specifically interested in genealogy databases, we're going to go to biography and genealogy. This lists the databases that we subscribe to for biography and for genealogy. Now, there are 3 databases that we subscribe to for genealogy research. They are all owned by Ancestry, and it includes Ancestry Library Editions, Fold3, and Heritage Quest. Ancestry Library Edition traditionally is only available when you're in the library. However, during the pandemic of 2020, Ancestry has allowed users with Elmhurst Library cards to access the database remotely for a limited time. The Library Edition also varies from the Home Edition in that it does not include newspapers, obituaries, or genealogy, local history published books. Heritage Quest is very similar to Ancestry in that it has census records available, but it also has local history and genealogy published books available. And then Fold3 is the one we're going to talk about today. This database specifically focuses on military records. So it's less likely that Fold3 is going to have a census record available, but more likely that there will be photographs and military records, draft cards, and such available in this database. When you click on the Fold3 link, it will direct you to the Fold3 website, and it is going to ask you to verify your library card number and last name. After you do that, you can create an account or join with an existing account. I recommend doing this. It is free. By having an account, you'll have access to create memorials. Memorials are curated biographies that you can put together for yourself or your family or ancestors who had service in the military. So these memorials allow you to upload photos and link documents and write stories and create timelines. And you can either list them as private, so they're only available for you and your personal records, or you can list them as public so that other people can find these records or share them with other people. After you create your account, it will log you in to the homepage for Fold3. If you're eager to get started, you can go ahead and search a name or a keyword here in the bar at the top left of your screen, or you can go to the search menu and use their search filters. We will get into more of that in a moment, but for now I want to show you some other things about the website. For instance, it has a main menu here that shows different things, different categories that you can browse on the website, including the Fold3 Training Center. Now, I won't be able to tell you everything about Fold3 in this training video, so the Training Center is very useful in showing you some tips and tricks to know more about Fold3. There's also the new and updated collections section. I recommend checking in on that periodically, especially if you're having a hard time finding records. All of the records in existence have not been recorded, scanned, and uploaded and transcribed yet, so if you are having a hard time finding a record, you want to check back every 6 months to see if that record has been updated and uploaded to Fold3. There are also popular categories in this menu for you to choose from if you have an interest specifically in like VJ Day records or World War II draft records, for instance. Now, most people are going to use this for genealogy research specifically on a person, but before we get started searching a person's name, I want to show you about browsing certain collections for context. You can do this either by hitting the Browse button up here and looking through different collections using that menu, or on the home page, it has a Browse Military Records by War option here. This is very useful if you're a history buff or a history teacher or working on a history research paper and you're looking for resources for that topic. So for instance, say I had an interest in the Revolutionary War, say I had a relative who served and I was hoping to apply to the Daughter or Sons of the American Revolution Society, I can click on the Revolutionary War and I can type in my last name and see if something exists. I can also search more broadly if I wanted to create a context for what the Revolutionary War was like for my ancestors who fought, or if I had an interest in a specific battle or military leader. So for instance, if I was interested in George Washington and his role in the Revolutionary War, I can browse all Revolutionary War titles, and I can see that within the Revolutionary War category, there are 23 publications for me to browse, and one of those publications is George Washington Correspondence. I can click on one of the volumes and I can actually read some of the correspondence he wrote during the Revolutionary War. Now if I click on one of the pages, it will give me the record view. And so what I can do from here is I can zoom in using the options on the right. So there's a zoom in and zoom out button. And then if I was having a hard time reading some of this text, I can click on this icon, which stands for brightness and contrast settings, and I can adjust the brightness and the contrast to make it easier to read the screen. Also, there are some instances where some negatives or microfilm are uploaded and they haven't been inverted, so there is an invert option for you to do that. All of these options are available for you so that you can adjust them to your needs so you can read the screen. Also, sometimes records are uploaded rotated, so there is a rotate button. So if the record you're looking at is not in the right format, you can rotate it accordingly. One of the nice things about Fold3 is that most of the documents, especially documents like this, are usually compiled in books. So we could actually browse through the book, and right down here it will tell us page 1, page 2, page 3, and we can read through this book at our leisure to get information. If we wanted to get rid of this menu, we can do so by using the Show Hide Film Strip option. And then on the left side here, we have the Info and Contributions option. And that panel can go away if we click the Show Image Info button. Now, this information is useful if you need to cite the source. So it'll tell you the date range that this covers, what page you're on, what volume you're on, the publication title, where it came from, the source. So in this case, this is a record that the National Archives holds, and then other publication information for citing the source, or if you needed to hunt down the source in physical form, you can use this information to contact the National Archives and get it in and see the physical form of it. Contributions are areas where people can add comments or annotations to a record. So with this being a George Washington record, it's not uncommon for there to be contributions. It's likely that people have flagged these as interesting, or maybe they're having a hard time reading the text and are curious if people were able to transcribe or index it properly to check if they wrote the right name down and are reading it properly. If this is a record that you're interested in and you want to save it in any way, you can go to the top and you can add it as a bookmark, and it can be one of your bookmarks. You can also add your own annotation or comment if you read this and notice something that you want to add a comment to. And then this icon here with the wrench and the hammer allow you to download the image or print it. So if you wanted to print out this correspondence and read it in paper, or download it and save it to a digital archive you're keeping, or send it to a friend, you could. You also have the option to add it to a memorial. So if you were making a memorial for George Washington, you could add it to a memorial. You can add it to a memorial with this menu. You can also share this. So you can share a link or share it on Facebook or Twitter if you want to share it with friends. Now I'm going to go back using this go to previous page, and it's going to take me back to our browse the collection option. Now, browsing the collection, again, is usually if you're looking for context or very specific records. So say you're having a hard time finding a record tied to somebody's name, but you know what battle they were in or what regime they were a part of, you can use these features to navigate or search within a certain conflict to find records related to that battle or that regime and fill in context that way. But if you have an actual name that you want to search for, you can go to the search option. Now in the search option, this is where you would normally go to search a person's name. I recommend starting with broad information. You don't want to start with too much information, because then you're not going to get a lot of results. And if you don't get a lot of results, you might miss records and information. Another thing I'm just going to point out is, again, there's a lot of tutorials available on Fold3. There's a tutorial button down here on the search option. So you can click tutorials, and if you have any questions that I don't cover in my training,
Fold3 has a new search.
If you have any questions that I don't cover in my training, or if you want a refresher on information, there are tutorials for you to watch here. Now I'm going to do something, I'm going to do a search that's easy for us. I'm going to search a very well-known military figure. Hopefully everyone has heard of him. His name is Dwight Eisenhower. Now, it doesn't matter if you use uppercase or lowercase, it will search everything the same. And because I chose a well-known military leader who also served as a president, there are over 7,000 records searching just Dwight Eisenhower. 7,000 records is a lot to go through. So this would take us a long time to sift through and find out if all of these records are actually for Dwight Eisenhower, or if maybe they're for the wrong Dwight Eisenhower, or they could also be records for someone with the same last name, Eisenhower, or same first name, Dwight. So this is a scenario where if we search the name, you're going to get a lot of results, and now you want to start narrowing your search results with whatever information you have. So for instance, we know that Dwight Eisenhower was a president, which means that he at one point lived at in Washington, D.C. So if we search Washington, it's going to give us options to search. So if you're having a hard time finding a record, I recommend searching it as a keyword, because you'll end up with more results. But if you know specifically where somebody lived and are pretty certain that a record will exist with that location, you can search Washington, D.C., United States as a place. And that has allowed us to narrow our search results from 7,000 to 35. 35 results are a lot easier to sift through. So you could actually take time to read all 35 results if you wanted to. One of the first results here is his memorial, and this gives us a snippet of his information that we can cross-reference with other information we know about him. So we know he was a general during World War II, we know he was born in 1890, and we know he died in 1969. So we're pretty certain that this is the right Dwight Eisenhower memorial. So since we know it's the right one, we can click on it. and we can see what a memorial would look like. So this memorial has his name listed. It has the conflict that he was most prominently known to be part of, the World War II, and that he was part of the U.S. Army branch. There's also some icons over here that tell us that same information. If you wanted to save this or print this out, there are options to print this record, to bookmark it, or to share it with a link or on Facebook or on Twitter. Or if you have a home subscription for Ancestry, you can save it to your Ancestry home subscription. As we scroll through the memorial, you can see that there are pictures and records for us to look through. There's a snippet of information about when he served and how he served. And then under the summary portion, we have a summary of his life with some sources to look at. There are also other memorials related to him. So because he's a president, he's linked with other presidents and other conflicts that happened during his lifespan. So you can look at other records linked to his life. Memorials often also have a facts page. This is kind of like a timeline where it'll give just the basic information, born, marriage, the date he died, and so forth. So this just has his basic facts for you to look at. There's also a stories page, and this is an opportunity for you to add specific stories. So this might be different than the summary, where the summary is more of a snapshot, a brief biography, and a story can actually be like an actual battle story that you want to share with someone. So these are all components to a memorial that you can add if you have an account and you want to create one to honor someone. We can use the back button to go back to our search results. And say we wanted to know more about him in his early life, because he did join the military during World War I, even though he's most well known for his role in World War II. So if we wanted to, instead of filtering by Washington, D.C., which would give us results for his later in life moments, we can exit out of that search result, and we can either type in World War I here, or there are an abundance of filters on the left that we can use to filter through these results. So there's World War II records. To no surprise, there are a bunch of those, 688. So if we wanted to see just Eisenhower's role in World War II, we can filter that way and go through 688 records. There's also filters for place, publication, military type, record type, so an image versus an index record versus a publication, and language, branch, and so forth. So since we know he enlisted in World War I, we could filter for World War I to see what records exist for his World War I moments. So this allows us, again, to take those 7,000 results and narrow it down to 30 results. These get harder to confirm that they match the right person, because a lot of these records don't list birth date or where they lived or other information. Sometimes it just lists their name and their rank. So this is harder to confirm that the record you're looking at actually matches the person that you're searching for. But this is just another way that you can filter these results. So by putting in a person's name and then narrowing the results with the conflict that you know they were involved in, or the birthplace they were from, or a training facility they might have been stationed at, you can sift through data and you can find a record. And just like with browsing the collection, you can find a record and view a record. And if you're lucky enough to find something that matches your person, you can add it to a memorial, share it with a friend, or download it and save it to your computer. So these are all functions you have for looking through Fold3 and doing genealogy research specific to military research, and increasing the genealogy knowledge you have of you, your family members, and your ancestors. This is just a quick tutorial on Fold3. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can email the library at reference@elmlib.org, or you can visit the Help Center for Fold3 for more resources. Have a nice day.